Hi Farm to Family members, this is Brooke here from Just Roots with your September 2023 unboxing video. This video is going to highlight the fruits and vegetables that were in your share over the course of the month. We'll do some demonstrations and recipes, and if you need any storage tips or you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. As you may know, World Farmers and the Flats Mentor Farm suffered some tremendous losses this month due to flooding. I think they lost around 55 acres of crops. We're just really in awe of the team at World Farmers that despite these challenges they face, they're working so hard to source local produce to make these beautiful boxes and deliver them to your doorstep. We hope all of our members in the Lancaster area are safe, their homes did okay in the floods, their cars did okay, all of that. Please reach out if you need support in any way. info@justroots.org. Over the course of the month, our shares featured apples, tomatoes, potatoes, sweet corn, green peppers, onions, carrots, and even honey. September is kind of an interesting month where you start to phase out those super warm season crops like tomatoes and peppers, and you phase in these cool season crops like potatoes and apples. We've highlighted some recipes for the ingredients most commonly featured in your CSA in the form of demonstrations. Links to these recipes in the video will be in the video description, kind of below this video, and stick with us as we prepare apple cinnamon oatmeal squares, which are gluten-free and dairy-free. Simple oven roasted bruschetta, it's great on bread, or I mix it in with omelets. Louisiana-styled pickled shrimp with green peppers and onions, and a Spanish tortilla, or an omelette basically made with potatoes. All right, let's get to it. We're going to start with these gluten-free apple cinnamon oat squares. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and line a baking sheet with some parchment paper to prevent sticking. I'm going to use 3 whole cups of rolled oats and 1/3 cup of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking soda to help rise, and then for salt about a 1/2 teaspoon. I did 1 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. You can do a little more or a little less depending on what you'd like. Gave that a good stir with the dry ingredients, and then I added 1 full cup of plant-based milk. So I did coconut milk, but you can use whatever you like. And I did a 1/3 cup of maple syrup. Next, you can crack in about 2 whole eggs, and then you're going to peel an apple, 1 large apple or 1 1/2 small ones to get you about 1 1/3 cups of chopped apple, and pour in 1/4 cup of butter or melted coconut oil. Give that a stir. You can mix in some more cinnamon to those apples if you like a teaspoon or so. And then pour the apples in with the oat mixture. Place it into your lined baking sheet and bake in the oven for 20 minutes or as the edges begin to brown. These pickled peppers, onions, and shrimp are absolutely to die for. It's so easy, and the texture of the shrimp is incredible. You're going to start by boiling your shrimp, and you can add whatever spices you'd like when you boil your shrimp. I put in black pepper and a little Old Bay seasoning, but you can just do water and salt if you'd like. And we're going to boil them for 4 to 5 minutes until the shrimp turn pink and are thoroughly cooked. Next, you'll slice up 1 or 2 peppers, depending how much you want to pickle, along with some onion, and this is going to go into your shrimp marinade. So get all your veggies ready first. And it's probably time to drain your shrimp, so make sure you do that in a colander, like that. Then we'll cut up an onion. I like to peel the skins like this. I use a little knife to cut a slit, and it makes it really easy to get the outer layer of the onion off. That way you can cut it into rounds, or you can just simply slice it into cubes. Next, I minced about 4 cloves of garlic, and then I added about 1 1/2 cups of vinegar. You could do apple cider, white vinegar, white wine vinegar like I did. Next up is about 1 1/2 cups of vegetable oil or olive oil. Then about 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. I did some pepper, even though it's not in the recipe, just, 1/8 of a teaspoon of black pepper, and 1 1/2 teaspoons of celery seed. Lastly, you can add an optional 2 tablespoons of capers with their juice. Give it a good stir, and you can put it in a Tupperware or even a Ziploc bag until you're ready to eat it. So I would give it at least, 4 hours for the shrimp to take up those vinegary juices. This is such an easy recipe, but brings so much flavor to any dish you can imagine. I highly recommend doing it and storing it in the fridge and use it when you'd like to. Okay, so I filled a cast iron pan with a bunch of cherry tomatoes. There we go. Then it's garlic time. So I think I used about 7 cloves here. You can follow the recipe directly, or if you like garlic as much as I do, put as much as you'd like in there. So I smashed those, but I am going to leave them whole. So you'll just see me peeling them right here. We want them peeled for this recipe, but whole. I find when they're smashed, they also kind of ooze out more of their garlicky flavors into the tomatoes. So I prefer it this way. Then you're going to simply add those to your oven-safe pan. I like to season with plenty of salt and pepper. And then you're going to add your olive oil. So I like to make sure all the tomatoes and the garlic are covered. You want that garlic to be able to slow roast in the olive oil. And then give it all a good stir. Once it's stirred in, you can stick it in the oven at 450 for 15 to 20 minutes or until they start to brown on top just a little bit. And when they're finished, pull them out. Use a fork to gently kind of pop those tomatoes so the skin is open. And then I like to serve it with some basil on some sliced toasted bread over pasta. I hope you enjoy. Irene shared this recipe with me for a Spanish torta, or a sort of potato omelette, and I will never stop making them. They're so easy and so delicious. Start off by peeling waxy potatoes. I didn't even have waxy potatoes. I used these Idaho potatoes, and it turned out great. Then you're going to use a knife. I guess this is the tricky part, unless you have a mandolin, and you're going to want to slice those potatoes very thin. So I kind of use the back of my fingernail to help guide the slice. Once you've got 2 pounds of potatoes all sliced up like that, you're going to add some salt. So I did about, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt for all of this, but it's to taste. So, you can always add more later. And go ahead and mix or gently massage that salt in. You can use your hands like I did. Now we're going to use some extra virgin olive oil. If you don't have extra virgin, use what you got. I'm going to really coat the pan with this. So we want these potatoes to be almost completely submerged or completely submerged if possible. Now we're going to cook those potatoes on low heat for about 20 minutes. They might break down a little, but that's okay. Next, you'll chop 1 large white onion. I only had shallots, so I did 2 shallots instead. Then we're going to caramelize them on low heat for maybe 20 minutes, making sure to stir and add water or chicken broth if there's any glaze that starts to stick to the bottom of the pan. You can look up a recipe for how to caramelize onions. It's really easy. Your potatoes should be sizzling a little bit, so make sure to stir them and make sure all parts of the potato are evenly coated in the pan. Next, we're going to get our eggs ready. I cracked a full 8 eggs, and then you're going to stir them or scramble them. That's where we're going to add our onions and our potatoes once they've cooled. And now that your potatoes are done cooking, you're going to drain them into a colander. I also use like a slotted spoon or spatula to get off that excess oil. You can pour the oil off and reuse it again if you'd like to fry something else in it. And then we're going to wait until those potatoes are fully cooled to add them to the egg mixture, because we don't want to cook the egg ahead of time. Once the potatoes have cooled, give it a nice mix, and then you're going to put it into a cast iron pan, preferably the one you just used to cook the potatoes because it's nice and oiled for you. And you're going to cook that until 6 to 8 minutes have passed on medium heat. And once that's happened, you flip the tortilla on a big plate, and then you cook it on the other side for 6 to 8 minutes. And what you should have looks like this. You can use a spatula to carve around the edges to make it easier to flip or when you're serving. And then you get to enjoy it. I hope you like it. All right, folks, that's all we've got for today. We look forward to meeting with you again in the month of October, where we'll have lots of harvest-themed treats and snacks. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, you're struggling with knowing how to prepare something that's coming up in your CSA, please do reach out. We have staff here full-time that are ready to answer your questions and help give you inspiration. If you're hoping to get some advice, you can email myself, Brooke, Brooke @justroots.org, or Renee, IRENE @justroots.org, or just info@justroots.org, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions and provide the support you need. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of the September month.